phonetics based in terms of the methodology. But Tina, we have an orthography called a transparent orthography. The same thing as Finnish, because English has an opaque orthography. What does that mean? You need to spend more time teaching the letter sound relationship, but you don't need that with African languages. You need another problem to be solved. It's called morphological awareness, where you break down the words into its morphemes, because the words are long. So a child needs to deal with that sausage and not letter sound relationships, because the language is different. And that is why the DBE is starting the process of the curriculum strengthening process to fix and address this issue. Can you go to the next slide? You will see that in grade R, these are the results. All the children in this slide are sitting in grades R on the far right with distinctions. 55%, 48%, that the red is grade 1, the green is grade 2, and the amber is grade 3. So you see the performance of children in the system, but they are doing extremely well. Next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Look at what happens in grade 4. Everything that you are doing well in grade, and this is why teachers of the foundation phase ask, what happened to these children? They were doing so well. It's the language police, Bazalwan. You see that when they get to grade 4, that whole big group that was in the distinctions, they start now spreading throughout the system, because the teacher has now to change. And this is a feature that happens to African language learners. The English and Afrikaans, they deal with the language of mathematics and the language of science. Wena usatolika. So they first have to learn the language, then maths. Next slide. This is what happens, colleagues, ultimately in the system. This is your grade 12, and this the DBE did in 2016. So what is important, one of the things we've learned about Finland is the fact that it takes time for you to learn patterns and trends in the system. You put systems like we did with the Eastern Cape pilot for 10 years, and then you replicate lessons you have learned. And that's how we got to today. This is what has been happening in the system. 43% of Africans, this is the performance, the pass rate of Africans in mathematics. There are 233,000 of them, but you see the performance. For the white group, it's 96%. For the so-called color group, it's 68%. For the Indian group, it's 84%. And for the Asians, it's 93.5%. Can you go to the next slide? You ask yourself, Bana, uThixo lo ngumlungu? Or is there something in the genetic makeup that makes us to sleep in school and to have all these extra classes? Because that was 2016. Look at 2023, colleagues. The same pattern. So we have no other excuse in the system. And this is why the DBE said, we are taking the results, the assessments data that we have in the system to say, what is it that makes this group to perform? And there's one thing in this group that they have. It is the exposure and the access to the home language to learn particularly the subjects we are really grappling with, mathematics and science. You see there, for black learners, they were 54% in 2021. Black, colored, Indian, and white. And then you see Ukuti Tina, we are sitting at 61%. At least we've moved from 51, which is a big achievement. The extra lessons are helping. But look at the group that has mother tongue education. It's sitting at 94. I changed 94. All these years, it's over 90%. It gives the impression to our parents that there is better teaching happening in our model C schools. That is why now it gives an impression that there's a problem of non-teaching. And any person who has a cursory look at this without analyzing what contributes to this situation can come up with the common sense analysis of what happens. And we cannot continue to do that. And that is why the system has learned lessons from this and says we can't allow this situation anymore. All children must learn. You remember the first theme of the minister? All, not just two groups in the system. Next slide. What keeps us from doing what we are supposed to do And what keeps parents? And when we say parents, it's easy to say parents and not say us, because it is the middle class who do that. Whatever the middle class does, even ordinary people will want to emulate and follow the middle class. There's a reason for it. It's called coloniality. What is coloniality? Coloniality is when a system of colonialism has left, it is in your mind then. There are no systems around. Everything is equal. It's supposed to be equal. But we still believe that xa indlu intsha, imoto intsha, kuthiwa le moto inika umlungu. Xa unolwimi ungakwazi ugcina indaba uthi hayi mna ndingumlungu ndithetha yonke into mna. Xa ueli kuthiwa niyandazi ngexesha mna ndingumlungu. Now, what is this and how do we assist one another in trying to address what remains in the mind? That is the most difficult part. And this is why we had to take 10 years for the pilot to happen. In 2023, we had the language, a conference that was organized by the minister in July 2023, and it is that conference that said to the minister, we can't sit with this anymore. It is us, teachers, traditional leaders, HEIs, everybody who says, it's time. We can't continue along this and think that it is fine. So we are now implementing the resolutions of the July 2023 conference that use 2024 as a stepping stone for 2025, where all grade 4s in the country are going to have an equal opportunity and not drop out as we see. Next slide. This is just what we spend as state governments, African governments in education because of our SAS. Remember what the NDP says? When you want to compare yourselves with people who have similar GDP. I was just on about of the budget in the UK.